I'm here in the side chapel at St. Stephen's Catholic Church in Portland, Oregon, in the presence of a little bronze statuette of St. Joan of Arc. And we are preparing for her feast day and for the rededication of a big bronze statue that's covered in gold leaf here in the city of Portland for the 100th anniversary of the dedication in Laurelhurst neighborhood here in northeast Portland, on the bridge of northeast and southeast Portland. Well, let us prepare for her feast day, and we continue now with day 2 in our novena. We are looking today at a transcript from her trial, and this is taken from the book Joan of Arc by Regine Pernoud, and this is the transcript from her trial in chapter 2 entitled Vocation and Departure. Now, you might recall that yesterday, in the account, reading from the book by Mark Twain, we ended with the friend of little Joan saying, "What could have put those strange ideas in her head?" Well, let us follow up on that now. Joan. When I was 13 years old, I had a voice from God to help me govern my conduct. And the first time I was very fearful, and came this voice about the hour of noon in the summertime in my father's garden. I had not fasted on the eve preceding that day. I heard the voice on the right-hand side, toward the church. And rarely do I hear it without a brightness. This brightness comes from the same side as the voice is heard. It is usually a great light. And when I came to France, often I heard this voice. The voice was sent to me by God. And after I had thrice heard this voice, I knew that it was the voice of an angel. This voice has always guarded me well, and I have always understood it clearly. Question. What sort of help, say you, that this voice has brought you for the salvation of your soul? Joan. It has taught me to conduct myself well, to go habitually to church. It told me that I, Joan, should come into France. This voice told me twice or thrice a week that I, Joan, must go away and that I must come to France and that my father must know nothing of my leaving. The voice told me that I should go to France and that I could not bear to stay where I was. The voice told me that I should raise the siege laid to the city of Orleans. The voice told me also that I should make my way to Robert de Baudricourt in the fortress of Vaucouleurs, the captain of that place, that he would give me people to go with me. And me, I answered that I was a poor girl who knew not how to ride nor lead in war. Question. Have you some other sign that these voices are good spirits? Joan. St. Michael assured me of it before the voices came. Question. How did you know it was St. Michael? Joan. I knew it by his speech and by the language of the angels, and I believed firmly that they were angels. Question. How did you know that they were angels? Joan. I believed it quite quickly, and I had the will to believe it. St. Michael, when he came to me, told me that St. Catherine and St. Margaret would come to me, and that I should act by their advice, that they were bidden to lead me in what I had to do, and that I should believe in what they should say to me, and that it was God's order. Question. If the devil put himself into the form or figure of a good angel, how would you know that it is a good or bad angel? Joan. I should certainly know if it was St. Michael or some other thing which had put itself into his resemblance. The first time I had great doubt if it was St. Michael who came to me, and that first time I was very much afraid. And I saw him afterwards several times before knowing that it was St. Michael. Question. How was it that you recognized St. Michael rather on that occasion, when you did not believe it to be him, than the first time he appeared to you? Joan. The first time I was a child and was afraid, and afterwards St. Michael taught me and showed me and proved to me that I must believe firmly that it was him. Question. What doctrines did he teach you? Joan. Before all things, he told me to be a good child and that God would help me. And among other things, he told me to come to the help of the King of France. And the angel told me the pity that was in the kingdom of France. Question. Of these visions which you say you had, did you mention them to your parish priest or to any other churchman? Joan. No, but to Robert de Baudricourt only, and to my king. My voices did not oblige me to hold this secret, but I feared greatly to reveal it for fear of the Burgundians, lest they prevent my journey, and above all I greatly feared my father, that he might prevent me from making my journey. Question. Did you think you were doing well in going away without the permission of your father and your mother, since we must honor our father and our mother? Joan. In all other things I did obey my father and my mother, save in this leaving them, but afterward I wrote to them about it, and they gave me their forgiveness. Question. When you left your father and your mother, did you think you were committing a sin? Joan. Since God commanded it, it had to be. Since God commanded it, had I had 100 fathers and 100 mothers, had I been a king's daughter, I should have departed. Question. Did you ask your voices whether you could tell your father and your mother of your setting forth? Joan. As for my father and my mother, my voices would have been satisfied that I tell them, had it not been for the pain it would have caused them if I had announced my departure. As for me, I would not have told them for anything in the world. The voices left it to me to tell my father and my mother, or to keep silent, and them within so little of going out of their senses the time I left to go to the town of Vaucouleurs. All right. And there we have, for now, the end of this part of the trial that I will read to you. Not the end of the trial. There's a lot more to that. But that is where we will stop for today. And now we will continue the narrative that we were listening to yesterday from the book by Mark Twain. Now keep in mind that the accounts that are related are historically factual, but the narrator is a fictional character placed in the life of Saint Joan from her childhood and through her adventures, through her trial and martyrdom, or it's not a martyrdom. The Church has not declared it a martyrdom, but through her trial, and he narrates this all for us. But he himself is a fictional character narrating historical things. But it makes it more interesting. All right, so let us pick up where we left off yesterday. You might recall the boy and Joan are having a debate over the hopelessness of France, and Joan has this confidence that within a very short time the king will be crowned, and the boy just can't see how that's going to happen. And so he says, what could have put those strange ideas in her head? This question kept running in my mind during 2 or 3 days. It was inevitable that I should think of madness. What other way was there to account for such things? Grieving and brooding over the woes of France had weakened that strong mind and filled it with fantastic phantasms, or phantoms. Yes, that must be it. But I watched her, and I tested her, and it was not so. Her eye was clear and sane. Her ways were natural, her speech direct and to the point. No, there was nothing the matter with her mind. It was still the soundest in the village and the best. She went on thinking for others, planning for others, sacrificing herself for others, just as always before. She went on ministering to her sick and to her poor, and still stood ready to give the wayfarer her bed and content herself with the floor. There was a secret somewhere. But madness was not the key to it. This was plain. Now the key did presently come into my hands, and the way that it happened was this. You have heard all the world talk of this matter, which I am about to speak of. but you've not heard an eyewitness talk of it before. I was coming over the ridge one day. It was the 15th of May, 28. And when I got to the edge of the oak forest and was about to step out of it upon the turfy open space in which the haunted beech tree stood, I happened to cast a glance from cover first. Then I took a step backward and stood in the shelter and concealment of the foliage, for I had caught sight of Joan, and I thought I would devise some sort of playful surprise for her. Think of it, that trivial conceit was neighbor, with but a scarcely measurable interval of time between, to an event destined to endure forever in histories and songs. The day was overcast, and all that grassy space wherein the tree stood lay in a soft, rich shadow. Joan sat on a natural seat formed by gnarled great roots of the tree. Her hands lay loosely, one reposing in the other in her lap. Her head was bent a little toward the ground, and her air was that of one who is lost in thought, steeped in dreams, and not conscious of herself or of the world. And now I saw a most strange thing, for I saw a white shadow come slowly gliding along the grass toward the tree. It was of grand proportions, a robed form with wings. And the whiteness of this shadow was not like any other whiteness that we know of, except to be the whiteness of the lightnings. But even the lightnings are not so intense as it was, for one can look at them without hurt, whereas the brilliancy was so blinding that it pained my eyes and brought the water into them. I uncovered my head, perceiving that I was in the presence of something not of this world. My breath grew faint and difficult because of the terror and the awe that possessed me. Another strange thing, the wood had been silent, smitten with the deep stillness which comes when a storm cloud darkens a forest and the wild creatures lose heart and are afraid. But now all the birds burst forth in song, and the joy, the rapture, the ecstasy of it was beyond belief, and was so eloquent and so moving, withal that it was plain that it was an act of worship. With the first note of those birds, Joan cast herself upon her knees and bent her head low and crossed her hands upon her breast. She had not seen the shadow yet. Had the songs of the birds told her it was coming? It had that look to me. Then the like of this must have happened before. Yes, there might be no doubt of that. The shadow approached Joan slowly. The extremity of it reached her, flowed over her, clothed her in its awful splendor. In that immortal light, her face, only humanly beautiful before, became divine. Flooded with that transforming glory, her mean peasant habit was become like to the raiment of the sun-clothed children of God, as we see them thronging the terraces of the throne in our dreams and imaginings. Presently, she rose and stood, with her head still bowed a little, and with her arms down and the ends of her fingers lightly laced together in front of her. And standing so, all drenched with that wonderful light, and yet apparently not knowing it, she seemed to listen, but I heard nothing. After a little, she raised her head and looked up as one might look up toward the face of a giant, and then clasped her hands and lifted them high imploringly and began to plead. I heard some of the words. I heard her say, "But I am so young to leave my mother and my home and go out into the strange world to undertake a thing so great. Ah, how can I talk with men, be comrade with men, soldiers? It should give me over to insult and rude usage and contempt. How can I go to the great wars and lead armies? I, a girl, and ignorant of such things, knowing nothing of arms, nor how to mount a horse, nor ride it? Yet if it is commanded..." Her voice sank a little and was broken by sobs, and I made out no more of her words. Then I came to myself. I reflected that I had been intruding upon a mystery of God, and what might my punishment be? I was afraid and went deeper into the wood. Then I carved a mark in the bark of a tree, saying to myself, "It may be that I am dreaming and have not seen this vision at all." I will come again when I know that I am awake and not dreaming, and see if this mark is still here, and then I shall know. End of chapter 6, and we will stop there for today. Now, let us pray our Novena prayer, and you can find a link to a printout of the video in the description. You can find a link to the printout of the prayer in the description below the video, printed out double-sided, short-sided binding, and then folded in half to have this semblance of a booklet like we hand out here in the church. Now I'm going to refer you to another video in the link beneath this video to pray along with us, and we have the Litany of St. Joan of Arc and the St. Joan of Arc Novena Prayer. I'm going to advise that where it refers to the country of France, yes, we want to pray for the country of France, but we want to pray for our own country as well. And I would ask you to include in your prayers for the city of Portland. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Well, join me tomorrow for the second day in our Novena to St. Joan of Arc, and don't miss a day of prayer with us.